Very good.
Okay. I mentioned earlier, I can't remember, I'm Gary, by the way. Nice to meet you. Okay, today's training, you're going to know how to set up a run, how to analyze a run, how to press samples and things like that, okay? Make sure you go on our website, tainstruments.com. We have all the training there also with videos. So it's getting started with DSC, getting started with Advantage. That's probably the two that you'll be interested in. And it's a video that you can stop and return the next day or whatever. And just keep going, okay? Then also we have training in Delaware, okay? And that's the theory and applications training. And you get one free tuition with the purchase of an instrument, okay? You didn't say that, and that's on tape. I didn't say this, but if all three of you want to go, we'll accept all three of you, okay? It's a classroom that can fit 600 people.
Oh, nice.
So we want to fit, we want to fill it up, all right? But I didn't tell you that. Okay, so, and of course, I'm going to leave plenty of cards around. Calling me, emailing me with any questions, please do. If I don't get back to you right away and you need a question answered right away, try our hotlines. They're on my card also, okay? Applications hotline and service hotlines. If you call the wrong one, don't worry, they'll transfer you to the correct one, okay? But we don't want you to get frustrated with something that could be easily answered over the phone or email or something like that. Email's by far the best way to reach me because I don't always have a cell signal, all right? Okay. I'm going to start over here with the refrigerated cooling system. You'll see that we nomenclate everything. Refrigerated cooling system, RCS. Okay? This is the RCS 90. That means it gets down to minus 90 degrees C. All right? For the lack of a better phrase of this thing, it's a stupid refrigerator. Okay? It's dumb. It just cools all the time. It's not controlled at all. So it just cools this portion right here, and the cell fights it. Okay? So we use the heater of the cell. If we don't want to go sub-ambient, the heater fires up and it keeps it that way. All right? I have this purge gas that comes in, it's set at 20 psi. That's where you'd like to keep it set if at all possible. Anywhere from 10 to 20, okay? It comes in, it goes through a dryer, and it actually tees off into two different spots. Okay. So the first one's going to go inside your cell. That's the 50 milliliters, I'm sorry, of purge that's inside the cell, okay? The other one is purging where I told you that cooling is. It's called the base plate. And that one's at about 300 to 400 mils per minute. Okay? So you got about 450 mils per minute that's constantly purging through this thing. So if the system's on, it's purging. Okay? All the time. Okay. Even if it's off, okay, it's using that 350 to 400 down here. Okay. Okay, so that's always purging. So remember that if the refrigerator's on, you always want your purge on, okay? So, and of course if you're operating the DSC, you always want the purge on too. It'll tell you if you try to start a run, it'll say, I don't have purge going, okay?
So do we have to switch the refrigerator first, or should we start the purge first and then switch the refrigerator?
Yes. And then when you want to turn this off, wait about a half hour, 20 minutes, and then turn your purge off. Okay? So you will want to turn that off, because if not, that tank's only going to last you 3 weeks if you leave it on all the time. Okay? But just remember, turn this off and then turn your purge off. Yes. Okay? Now, if you turn this off and forget and turn this off right away, it's not going to harm anything. Okay. At 0 degrees, you might see some moisture. That's all. So it might be important for you because you're going to be analyzing water things. So we don't want to have any moisture in there, because if we do, then we're going to get moisture from the cell. So it's probably a good idea whenever you make a run, as a matter of fact, because he's trying to distinguish water in his sample. Make sure that you heat the cell up before you start your runs. Take it up to 400 degrees C and just keep it there for a minute, and then let it cool back down again. Because then we'll get rid of any moisture that's in the cell itself. Because it could be from the atmosphere, it could be from the purge or something like that. Okay? All right. We do have a cable that's hooked to the back of this that the DSC controls when this cooler comes on, okay? So you can see right here, I have this switch right here. This is your power switch. That will always be on. But this one here is an event or manual. We ask that you try to keep it in the event all the time. Okay. So that means if you turn this off and turn it back on, you have to turn the compressors on through the software. Okay. All right? So if for some reason, when you shut this down, and you turn the power back on, you won't hear that compressor going. The power light will be on. So you want to hear that in order to start your runs, okay? And I'll show you in the software, you say event on, and that kicks it on.
Oh, so it controls it if it's in that event mode.
That's right.
The software controls it.
That is correct. And that's the way we like to keep it, because that way, if you lose power in here and the power comes back on, the compressors won't come on. Because if so, and say that happens on a Friday night, and that comes on Friday night, this will cool down to minus 100 degrees and stay there until you come in on Monday morning. So that's why we like to keep it in the event. Okay? The reason we have the manual is if the event fails for some reason, you're not down. You can run it. Okay? So just put it in the manual and run it, but remember to shut it off every night. Okay? That make sense? Okay, good. All right. Our refrigerator comes in here, like I said. It goes into our cell area. Our cell, you can see that we don't have it perfectly. The reference in the back and the sample in the front, it's kind of at an angle, and that's for our auto sampler. Okay? So, yeah, sure. Come on up here. So the reference is in the back left. Okay. And the sample is in the front right. Okay? Okay. So those are your two sensors right there. They're pretty sturdy sensors right there. And hopefully, what you don't want to do in your DSC, of course, is decompose samples.
Yes.
Okay? So always stay below the decomposition temperature. But sometimes something's going to happen where it comes out and it spills on the cell. Okay? If for some reason it does, burn it out. Try burning it out. Go up to 400 degrees C. That should hopefully burn something out. Take some Q-tips and then clean with your Q-tip and some alcohol, even IPA or something like that. The most important thing is don't clean in the middle of the two sensors. Okay? The silver block, all that, the sensors themselves with the Q-tips you can do. But don't rub in between the two sensors. It's kind of hard to see, but there's actually a thermocouple that's welded in the middle of those two. Okay? That's our T0 thermocouple. That gives us a nice straight baseline. That's about the only thing that's going to fail in that DSC, in that cell. Okay? And the way it does fail is if somebody spills something, rubs it.
To clean it up.
Yes.
So what if something spills there?
I'm sorry?
If something spills there, what do we do?
Hopefully by burning it out, it's going to dissipate.
Try to burn it out.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, and what you can also do is take it to 400 degrees C, and we have a step that's called isothermal. So keep it there at 400 degrees. During that isothermal, take the lids off. That should shock it with air too, because right now we have a nitrogen purge in there, right? So hopefully with 400 degrees and air, we should be able to burn it off. All right? Okay, you can see that you have your three lids, all right? It goes smallest to largest, of course, all right? And get into the habit of grabbing these lids with the tweezers, okay? Because it could be very hot, especially at this area. Always grab it with the tweezers, all right? Because it can be as high as 400 degrees C, all right? The first lid always goes on, it fits in there, but you see you do have some play in there. The more centered we have that lid, the better your baseline is going to be. Okay, so just try to get it somewhat centered. It doesn't have to be perfectly centered. Just try not to, if you don't touch the edges, it's a little bit better. Okay, this one does fit pretty good. It just fits right on top. And then you have this that just sits on there, and you sit in the middle of that second lid. Okay, so that's all you would do. You would prepare your sample. Now your reference, hopefully, is always going to be in there. Reference is an empty pan to the back. So that'll be in there. You prepare your sample and you put that in there, then your three lids. Okay? We do have a power switch on this. It's in the back. Okay? It has its own computer, CPU inside this. So just like your computers, it is better to do a shutdown with it. Okay, the shutdown will be done inside the software. And then it'll say, okay, it's safe to turn your system off and go back to. The reason we put it in the back here is the best thing to do is to turn it on and leave it on all the time. Okay, it's better for the electronics. It's ready to use then. Okay, but I always yell at my daughters for turning the television on and off all day long. It's a lot better for electronics if you turn it on and leave it on all the time. Okay. That's it about this area right here. Is there any questions on that? I mean, just quick and dirty on what you need. The most important thing is your purge gas. And then, turning that off when you don't need it, because then you're going to be running through your purge gas all the time.
Also, how often do we have to switch? So when it's not in use, it's better to switch the refrigeration off, I'm guessing?
Yes.
Always.
Yes. Yeah, it sure is. Now, what I tell people, if you know you're going to be using it every day that week, leave it on then. Okay? Because then it's better. You're ready to use it again Tuesday morning when you come in. See, if you use it all day Monday, you come in Tuesday, it's ready to use then. You don't have to do any kind of preparation. So if you use it once a week or something like that, yeah, you turn that off.
Okay.
Turn your purge gas on, and I would still ramp it up in temperature. So that'd be the first thing I do, because then it helps dry things out all the time, and it's better for your baseline. But you don't have to do that if you use it every day that week and leave everything on.
And how much time should we wait before, like once we switch on the purge gas and the refrigeration, how much time should we wait before we start using the DSC?
About a half hour. Yes. And I'll show you in the software, because I want to get this flange, it's called.
Yeah.
I want to get that cold first. And that takes about 20 minutes to get that down to temperature.
Okay.
So that's why I like to say wait a half hour just to play safe.
Sure.
All right, in our software here, I did go ahead and I installed the Rheology software just in case you wanted it on here for some reason to get another router. At least you have the software on here. This is the icon that you're going to be using for starting up your instrument. Okay, so we go out through the Ethernet and we come into this back of this instrument, and it'll show the instrument that's connected. So when I double click on this TA Instrument Explorer, you'll see that there's our Q20 DSC. So if you had other instruments, you'd have them all lined up here. We double click on this, and it brings up the instrument control for the DSC. If I maximize this screen, you'll see that it's so simple to set up a run, because all you're going to be doing really is just filling in the information in these three tabs: the Summary tab, Procedure tab, and Notes tab. Okay. When we shut the computer down and turn it back on, you won't be getting this error anymore. It's a user level. Okay. Even if you get it, don't worry about it. Just say okay. It's not a fatal error.
Okay.
I've already made the changes to the computer, but we have to shut it down. I haven't done that yet. Okay. So you see we have these three tabs here. The Summary tab. Pretty much you're always going to be in the standard mode, right? The only time you need to do a calibration, more than likely, is maybe once a year. You have to do a calibration on this thing. We give you indium inside the kit. Indium is the standard that you would use to check and make sure that it's in calibration. Okay? It should be 156.6 and 28.7 joules per gram. The temperature 156. The heat of fusion 28.7 joules per gram. So if you, as long as you get those numbers, the DSC's fine. Okay? More than likely, if your numbers go one way or the other, if you clean the DSC cell, 99% of the time it comes right back in again. All right, I'm going to come back to the test drop down here, because in procedure, you see we have the same thing again. So it's in both places. It's in the summary and the procedure. So I'm going to come back to that. Sample name. This will be your name of the sample that you're running. What type of pan are you using? Okay, with this particular instrument, it's not important that you tell it. Okay, it's just a record of what pan you used. Okay. And we'll get into pans when we do the crimping over there. The sample size, okay, that's the mass of your sample only. That's encapsulated into that sample pan.
Yeah.
Okay. When is that important? When you want qualitative data.
Yeah.
Okay. If you're just looking for glass transition or a melting temperature, you don't have to put it in there.
Okay.
I would always put a number in there, because if not, then it throws an error up there when you bring it up, saying, "Hey, I can't do correct analysis with 0 weight." Any comments that you want to put in there, okay? This sample was dried, blah, 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 okay? And that'll come out in your plan and your print. This right here is where do I want to save it and what do I want to name it, okay? You can save it. You see we have a default called data, DSC, and date, so that's what we defaulted to, but you can save it anywhere you want to, okay? I will tell you the one thing it doesn't like is to be saved on the desktop.
Oh, okay.
Okay, you save it in my disk. I like to save it on a C drive, a hard drive. Okay, if we can save it into that, that's good. But don't save it to the desktop. It might work fine with your computer, but I know that I've had problems with that. So stay away from that if you can. But put it in a folder that hopefully, if you have to come back to it a year from now, you can find it pretty easily. All right. It's not hooked to the network, so we don't have to worry about saving it in a network drive at the same time. So if I go to the procedure tab, Okay, that was just information, really. Now you see, I have a drop down with that test. What this does is it brings up a little template of something that you might want to do. Okay, so I always tell people, try to start with the template C first to see if there's something, you know, that might help you. You just want to do a simple ramp or a heat-cool heat.
Yeah.
Okay, a lot of people will do that. Heat it up, cool it back down, and heat it up again. So if you use the template first, okay, you can always go back to that option of custom and customize it any way you want to now.
Yeah.
But when you go to this, when you go to like the templates here, the heat, cool, heat, you see I'll put in here, I don't want to start at 35, I want to start at, you know, say 10 degrees with your sample that you want to run. Okay? We're going to ramp at 10 degrees per minute to, let's say, 80 degrees. I'm going to cool it back down, okay, at, let's say 10 degrees per minute. And that lower temperature, once again, is going to be 10 degrees, okay? This cooling rate right here is dependent on how cool you want to go. All right? With this particular method right here, it'll have no problems cooling at 10 degrees per minute to 10 degrees, okay? But if you wanted to go to minus 50 at 10 degrees a minute, it's going to say, wait a minute, I may not be able to achieve that. At 10 degrees a minute, it might get down to like minus 30 or 40, and then it's going to slow down, okay? So this particular cooler can't achieve the cooling rates. I think, actually, it can pretty much to minus 50. Okay, pretty darn close. I have a chart that I can send you too, with the coolers, the cooling rates and what it can achieve. Okay, so let's say that I was going pretty close. Oh, wait a minute. Okay, when I hit apply. Okay, let's say that I was going sub-ambient to like minus 50 or something like that. Okay, what I can do is I can come back over here to the custom, and I go to the editor. And if you want to make sure it gets to this sub-ambient temperature again, what you would do is make sure you put an equilibrium at that temperature. Okay? So now it'll ramp at the 10 degrees, and even though it's starting to lose maybe 9 degrees, 8 degrees, it says, okay, I can't get there. At least equilibrate will make sure we get to that temperature. Okay? So it may not be controlled the whole way down there, but at least you can get down there. If you start a run, and we have a sub-ambient temperature and a cooling rate that the computer says, I don't think I can do that, it'll let you know. Okay, it'll still run it, but it'll say, you put in a temperature ramp, a cooling ramp that may be a little too quick for me. Okay, so don't be alarmed when you see that. Just make sure if you do see that, you put that equilibrium there to make sure you get to that temperature.
So if you put the equilibrate step, it won't send you an error message or a warning message.
No, it still will.
It still will.
Yes, it still will. Yep, because it's still going to try to achieve that ramp first before it sees that equilibrium. Okay, but again, that's only if you're going pretty darn low. You got to go below minus 40 degrees C or something like that in order for it not to achieve those cooling rates. All right. Okay. Once you create a method that you like, you can always save it. So hit your little save button right here, and you can save that method. What we do, with Windows 2000 and above, remember it saves it in the last path saved, right?
Oh, by default.
Yeah, by default. So when you save this, it's going to go probably to a data file that you saved. So just if you accidentally just hit save, what we've done is we've automatically put a .mth at the end of that file name. Okay, so if you can't find it, just do a search for .mch, start.mth, then move it to wherever you want to. Okay? So once you're satisfied with your method that you create, then, the only other thing you really want to have to do is go to your notes, and if you want to, you can put your operator in here, okay? The other thing on the notes page is you can see that we have our flow for our purge inside of our cell, defaulted to 50 mils per minute, okay? If you want to change that for what reason, I have no idea, but if you wanted to, don't change it here, change it in your method. There's an option in your procedure here, in your editor, you can change the flow rate. Right here, okay? Because if somebody else comes up to use the DSC, they might see this method, oh yeah, this is the method I want to use, but they might not see it's changed to 100 mils per minute, right? So there's other things in here too, like data storage, okay? We default to 10 data points per second, all right? sometimes not as much with the DSC, but what if you want to go, say, to 100 degrees and sit there for 21 hours?
Yeah.
You don't want to take 10 data points per second.
Yeah.
Okay, so you would change that. 1 data point per second, or 1 every 5 seconds, or something like that. But if you change it in the method, then it's method specific and somebody will see that. Okay? As far as any of these other ones, I did go over what some of these segments are. The equilibrate, what it does is it gets to a temperature and it stabilizes at that temperature and then proceeds to the next segment. Okay?
The next step.
So that's the one that you would use right here. Okay, equilibrate to 10 degrees. Get there, you don't see that data, and then from 10 degrees it'll start collecting our data. All right? You won't use jump at all. I promise. Please don't use jump. Jump is a ballistic cooling or heating. Okay, it doesn't even get to the temperature that you tell it to go to unless you put an isothermal in there. Okay. Initial temperature is just like the equilibrate. All right, and I don't think you'll use this one either, but when it gets to 10 degrees, it just sits there until you hit this button right here that says resume. Okay, the only time I ever heard of people using this is like in pharmaceuticals or something like that, when they got to start at exactly, minus 16.4 degrees. They wait for it to get to that temperature and then they hit resume. Okay. Ramp does just that. Ramps a certain degree per minute to a final temperature. Isothermal keeps a final temperature for a certain amount of time. All right. Other than that, I don't think you'd be using any of these other, except for like the flow rate, data file or something like that. But notice that when I created this method, okay, in the template, I didn't put this mark cycle here. It automatically did it. That's why I think it's a good idea to use the template first, and then go to custom and customize it. Because what this does, this mark cycle, it makes it real easy for, okay, I have my first heat, it marks a cycle. I have the cool down, marks a cycle, then I have my third heat or second heat. So when you go in universal analysis,
you can select the